Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's recipe, I'm showing you guys how to make my awesome crispy fried pork chops with this amazing French onion gravy. If you would like to see how it's done, just keep on watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new here. Thumbs up if you enjoy, and let's get started. Here's what you need to make this recipe. I'm using onion powder, garlic powder, salt and pepper, paprika to season my pork chops. And also we have mustard with some Louisiana hot sauce, 2 eggs, butter, and this is for my flour. I'm using Creole seasoning, cornstarch, pepper, adobo seasoning with a little bit of Old Bay seasoning. And here we have the flour. I'm using all-purpose flour. And of course, we have some buttermilk. And we have the pork chops. I'm using thinly cut pork chops. They're nice and clean and ready to go. To make my French onion gravy, I have the onion as well as some butter with some seasoned flour. I'll show you guys how to make the seasoned flour later. And of course, we have some chicken broth. Okay, shall we begin? Let's get started. First thing I'll be doing is season my pork chops. So I'm drizzling a little bit of olive oil on there so the seasoning can stick. Then we're going to start by adding the seasoning on there. All right, now I'm going to be mixing my seasoning together. That way they can be well mixed together. And we're going to sprinkle the seasoning onto the pork chops. And make sure to season both sides of the pork chops. Why? Because we eat both sides. Once you're done with your pork chops, you're going to set them aside. Moving on, in this bowl here, I am going to be cracking 2 eggs right in. Now I'm going in with the buttermilk, just pour that in. And also I am going to be adding in the mustard as well as the Louisiana hot sauce. And now I'm going to take my whisk and whisk everything together just like so. We're just prepping for the pork chops, guys. It's nothing really, just prepping. The prepping is very important, especially when you're making fried pork chops. Now we're going to set that aside. Moving on, time to season the flour. I'm going to be adding in the flour, add the seasoning to it. Then of course, whisk it together, mix it together. Now, if your flour doesn't change color, honey, you need more seasoning, okay? And also make sure to taste your flour just a little bit, I'm not telling you to eat the flour, just taste it, make sure there's flavor in there. And also I went ahead and add a little bit more paprika just because I feel like I needed more. But like I said, if there ain't no color, ain't no flavor. Okay, just add a little bit more paprika. Of course, the measurement will be below for you guys. And whisk that together. And with that same flour, I'm going to take about 3 tablespoons of that flour, set it aside so I can use in my gravy later. Okay, keep that in mind before you start using the flour. Take about 3 tablespoons of that flour, set it aside. Now I'm going to be taking my pork chop, place it into the egg mixture, let it drip, let the excess egg wash or egg mixture drip for a little bit. Then we're going to place it to the seasoned flour. Now I'm going to repeat the step once more until I am completely done with all of my pork chops. Once you're done, you're going to set your pork chops aside. We're getting ready to fry these bad boys. Okay, now I'm going to pour my oil to my frying pan. Once it's about 350, nice and hot, you're going to place your pork chops in there. Now your pork chops shouldn't take long to cook, about 2 to 3 minutes, because you still want it to be nice and juicy. You want it to be nice and crispy at the same time. So about 2 to 3 minutes for it to cook, or until there's no remaining blood obviously in there. Now look how crispy that thing looks, y'all. Extremely crispy. When I tell you crispy, extremely crispy, especially that cornstarch. Ooh wee, it's crispy. Okay, I like smothered pork chops, but I like crispy pork chops at the same time. That's why I made this recipe instead of a smothered pork chops. But if you want a smothered pork chop recipe, let your girl know. Look how beautiful they look so far. We're going to set them aside. Moving on to making our French onion gravy. I am going to be adding in a little bit of butter and as well as some oil, some grease from the grease that I was frying the pork chops, just so I don't burn my onions. So I'm going to add in my onions in there. We're going to caramelize the onion. Once they're done, I'll show you guys what to do with them next. Once my onions are done caramelized, I am going to remove them, set them aside. I am going to be adding in the flour. I am about to make the gravy. Okay, this is very important. So we're going to add the butter. Once the butter is nice and melted, basically like making a brown butter-ish, but not really, we're going to add in the flour. The flour is very important to cook the flour, so you can remove the flour taste from the gravy, because once we're done adding all the ingredients, basically the gravy's done. So you need to cook the flour before adding in your chicken broth. Now I'm going to be adding the chicken broth very slowly. Keep stirring so we don't form any lumps, and we're going to continue adding in the broth slowly. Keep in mind the flour is already seasoned, so that's a plus. Now I'm going to be adding a little bit of Old Bay in there just to spice it up a little bit more. And at this time, it's time for you to taste this gravy to see if it tastes good to you, if you need some more pepper, some more salt. But once you figure it out, you don't need any more seasoning. Just add your onions back in there, stir it for a few minutes, about 1 or 2 minutes, and basically your gravy is done. And when I tell you the flavor The flavor that is in this gravy is to die for. It's creamy. The brown butter with the it's everything. Okay, so now I'm going to plate this dish for you. It's my favorite part of this recipe, plating it. So I have this homemade mash that I made. I do have a recipe, we'll link it below for you guys. Then I place my crispy, at this point they kind of not fully crispy, but I am going to place my beautiful pork chops on there, then place the gravy on top. You gotta eat this quick because it's still crispy and you don't want it to be soggy. So as soon as you add your gravy on there, dig in. There you have it, this beautiful fried pork chop with this amazing French onion gravy. Let me know how you like this recipe. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to my channel. Join the family, subscribe, like the video if you enjoy it, and I will see you guys on the next recipe. Bye.